first story. I called my stepson a weird, clingy Cnt as a joke after my friend called him weird for clinging on to me. Now my boyfriend claims I traumatized his son, demands I cut ties with my friend, and involved his mum to scold me. So I told him he isn't a better parent either, as he abandoned his son when he was born. Now everything is ruined. I 22F have been dating my boyfriend 27M for almost 2 years now. We met at a party through mutual friends. He was charming, kind of intense, but had this protectiveness that felt good at the time. He told me pretty early on that he had a son from a fling. The kid was 3 then. He wasn't involved in the son's life much at the time. He said the mum had vanished when the kid was around 1, and he wasn't ready to be a parent. He called it a mistake that became a responsibility. Which, yeah, I had mixed feelings about, but I was 20 and kind of naive, and I thought he was trying now, and that counted. I never pushed to meet the kid. I figured when it made sense, it'd happen. That took over a year. He said he wanted to make sure things were serious. By then, the kid was almost 5 and had been living full-time with him for a while. The first meeting was fine. The kid was shy. He didn't talk much and didn't make eye contact. But I'm not heartless. I didn't expect some Disney moment. I just figured it'd take time. Fast forward 2 months after that, we moved in together. Honestly, I think it was too soon. We didn't fully discuss what co-parenting would look like. It just kind of happened. I started doing more helping with meals, bedtime, and laundry. My boyfriend works long hours, and I do remote admin work, so I'm home more. Naturally, the kid got attached. But the attachment got intense, like alarmingly intense. He follows me everywhere. Sits outside the bathroom door when I shower. Cries if I don't tuck him in. Gets upset if I'm on the phone or leave the house without saying goodbye. At first, I thought it was sweet kids need stability. But this is something else. He's obsessed. He started asking me to bathe him. At first, I said no, that's his dad's job. But my boyfriend brushed it off like, he trusts you. That's good. One time, I was literally undressing for a shower, and the kid came into the bathroom crying because he couldn't find me. My boyfriend acted like I was being dramatic when I said that wasn't normal. He said, "You know he's been through a lot." I get that. But I didn't sign up to become a mother at 22. And I didn't sign up to have zero space in my own home. What makes it harder is my boyfriend doesn't take criticism when it comes to his son. At all. It's like he knows he wasn't around the first few years, and now overcompensates to the point of acting like the kid is made of glass. He told me once, "You don't understand what it's like to look into your child's eyes and feel like you failed them." I said, "Okay, but I'm not the enemy." He shut down the conversation and didn't talk to me for a whole day. That happens a lot. He stonewalls when I say anything he doesn't like. If I bring up boundaries with his kid, he gets cold. If I ask for more alone time, he says I'm selfish. He's never hit me or yelled at me, but he controls situations by guilt and silence. His mum is the same way, very involved, very opinionated, and always has something to say about my choices. She once said I was lucky to be accepted into their little family, like I was being adopted into royalty or something. Anyway, a few days ago, my best friend came over. She's very direct. She says what's on her mind, and I respect her for it. My boyfriend hates her. Thinks she's manipulative, arrogant, and bad for my mental health, his words. She's not. She's just not afraid to point out BS when she sees it, and I think that threatens him. She came over on Sunday afternoon to help me clean out some of my old clothes. The kid was in the living room watching YouTube. We were upstairs going through my wardrobe. I didn't hear anything at first, but apparently he was calling for me. When I didn't come, he started crying and came upstairs looking for me. He came into the bedroom while we were sitting on the floor sorting stuff. His face was red and wet from tears. I asked what was wrong. He didn't answer. Just clung to me. I gave him a hug. He wouldn't let go. My friend said, "That's not normal for 5. He's a bit weird." I laughed awkwardly and said, "Yeah, he's a clingy little Cnt sometimes." Then I added, "But he's the cutest weirdo ever," and gave him another hug. He seemed totally fine after that. He stopped crying, wiped his face, sat on the bed playing with my scarf while we finished up. Boyfriend wasn't home, yet he was working late. I didn't think anything of it. But when he came home later that night, it was like a switch flipped. I was downstairs with my friend still, just chatting before she left. He barely said hi. Took his son upstairs to get ready for bed. Half an hour later, she left, and that's when he let me have it. He came downstairs fuming. He said he heard from his son that my friend and I called him weird. That his son was sad and confused because I said he was a little CNT. Yes, apparently he repeated it. Great. My boyfriend was visibly shaking, said. How dare you talk about my son like that, said my friend was poisoning me. That she's a narcissist who manipulates everyone around her. I told him it wasn't that deep, that it was a joke. That I literally hugged his kid right after and called him cute. I reminded him that I've been stepping in, helping out, and trying to build trust with his son while he works all the time. That one sarcastic comment doesn't erase all that. He didn't care. He said, if that's how you really see him, you don't belong in his life. I was stunned. He refused to come to bed that night. Took a blanket and went to sleep in his son's room. Has been doing that every night since. The next morning, I apologized to his son. I crouched down, looked him in the eye, and told him I was sorry if anything I said made him feel bad. He just blinked at me and went back to eating his cereal. He didn't seem upset and didn't mention it again. 5 minutes later, he was pulling at my sleeve, asking if I could play with him. So, clearly not traumatized. My boyfriend, on the other hand, was still cold. Barely spoke to me. Ate breakfast standing. He told me he was taking his son to the park and left. That night, he didn't sleep in our bed again. 3rd night in a row. Then I got a text from his mom. A full paragraph of passive-aggressive garbage. How she's disappointed in the way her grandson was treated. How she knew my friend was a narcissist from the start. How I shouldn't tolerate people who bully a child. And how she hopes I make the right decision and distance myself from someone so toxic. She ended it with, we opened our family to you. Please don't make us regret it. I didn't even respond. It's so overblown it's laughable. I didn't hit the kid. I didn't scream at him. I said he was weird and clingy, because he is. I made a crude joke that wasn't even directed at him. He didn't understand it, and he was calm a minute later. The person making this into a major betrayal isn't the kid, it's his father. I think this is less about the comment and more about my friend. My boyfriend never liked my friend. He's been trying to get her out of my life since the beginning. He once told me she plants ideas in my head. No, she just tells me when something's not right. He's threatened by anyone who sees through his crap. He also can't handle me having boundaries with his kid. When I brought up maybe needing some alone time or space, he acted like I was rejecting his son altogether. I once suggested we find a child therapist to help with the clinginess, and he said, you just don't want to deal with him. No. I want the kid to be okay without having a meltdown if I walk to another room. But I'm not allowed to say that. Any criticism is, you're attacking my son. Any suggestion is, you think he's broken. And now, one sarcastic comment, and suddenly I'm public enemy number 1. His mom joins the pile-on. My friend is now being labeled as some abusive monster, and he's punishing me by physically removing himself from our shared space. It's manipulative, it's dramatic. And I'm tired of pretending. I don't see what this is. This isn't about a 5-year-old's feelings. It's about a grown man who needs everything to be on his terms. I walk on eggshells constantly. Around what I say. Around how I act with his son. Around how much I engage with my own friend. And now, he wants me to grovel because I didn't play his perfect fantasy stepmom role. Here's what I did. I said the kid was weird. I hugged him. I called him cute. He was fine. I apologized. He moved on. Here's what he did. Blew up, dragged his mother into it, tried to isolate me from my friend, and emotionally iced me out for days. One of us is escalating. It's not me. I'm really not sure if I'm wrong here, so Ada. Comments. Comment 1. YTA. But hear me out. I say this as a single dad with a kid who struggled after her mom dipped out. Trauma doesn't always show itself in ways that are rational to people outside. You seem clingy. I see a kid terrified of being forgotten again. Wanting you to bathe him. Sleep between you and his dad. Not ideal, but it's survival mode behavior for a child with abandonment issues. He sees you as safe. That's not weird to him. That's comfort. So yeah, your comment was probably a slap in the face. Not just to the kid, even if he didn't fully get it, but to your boyfriend, a guy trying hard to repair what he neglected early on. Calling his son a clingy little CNT, even as a joke, is going to land like a gut punch when he's spent the last 2 years trying to undo damage. That said, your boyfriend is doing way too much. Freezing you out, sleeping in the other room, dragging his mom into this. That's petty and not constructive. He should have had a grown-up conversation with you. Explained his son's trauma response and helped you understand where the line is. Instead, He's gone nuclear. Bottom line, you said something off color, but you've also been showing up. You're young. This is a complicated situation. Own your words, but don't let this guy use them as an excuse to weaponize guilt and control you. Comment 2. Esh. You, for calling a 5-year-old a clingy little CNT. I don't care if it was a joke, that's not how adults talk about children. Even in sarcasm. That's a word you pull out for your ex's new girlfriend or a boss who screws you over, not a child who just wanted to find you. Don't be shocked he repeated it. Kids repeat everything. And don't act like it's fine just because he was playing with your scarf. A few minutes later, that's not how emotional wounds work at that age. Now, your boyfriend. He's not off the hook either. He's immature. He weaponizes silence. He brings in his mommy to fight his battles. That's not a partner, that's a man-child hiding behind his kid and mom to avoid confrontation. And that kid? He doesn't need more chaos. He needs 2 adults who can have hard conversations without turning it into a guilt circus. Right now, he has none. Your friend also sucks. I don't care how honest she is if your honesty involves calling a traumatized 5-year-old strange in front of him. You're not a truth teller. You're rude. And maybe your boyfriend's right about her, because she sounds like the kind of person who values telling it like it is over having a shred of empathy. The whole situation's a mess. You all need therapy separately. Update. I posted a while ago about calling my boyfriend's son weird and clingy. At the time I thought it was a small thing blown way out of proportion. Well, it didn't blow over. It escalated, and the relationship is done. After my post, things between us didn't get better. He was still sleeping in his son's room and only talking to me about logistics. It was like living with a stranger. When he did talk, it was to guilt me or push me into cutting my friend out of my life. He kept saying, "I'm not comfortable with her influence on you. She's bad for my son." He wanted me to block her on everything. I told him flat out I wasn't going to do that. My friends are my friends, and I'm not going to isolate myself because he's uncomfortable. That was fight number 1. Fight number 2 came a few days later. He told me his son was being evaluated for autism. That the clinginess, the sensory issues, the panic if I left a room, those might all be part of that. I listened, but then I told him, "I'm sorry, but this can't be an excuse for everything. He's got to learn boundaries." That set him off. He said I was dismissing his son's diagnosis and refusing to educate myself. I told him, I'm not his mother. I'm not a therapist. I'm just trying to live in my own home without being smothered by a 5-year-old. That turned into a screaming match. It got worse from there. One night, while I was getting ready for a shower, the kid walked in crying because he couldn't find me. I told him, "I'm showering. I'll be out in a minute." My boyfriend walked by and saw me ushering his son out of the bathroom and later accused me of refusing to care for him when he needed comfort. I told him it's not appropriate for me to be naked around a 5-year-old who isn't mine. He called me a prude and said I was making his son feel rejected. I said, "I'm not rejecting him. I'm drawing a boundary." He didn't like that. The last straw happened on a Saturday. His son was following me from room to room while I was trying to clean. I asked him nicely twice to go play with his toys. He didn't. He stood at the door to the laundry room whining. Finally, I turned around and said, "You have to stop following me everywhere. I can't breathe with you stuck to me 24/7. Go find your dad or play by yourself for a while." He got quiet and left. Later, I heard him crying in his room. My boyfriend came out red in the face and said, "He told me what you said." "How dare you talk to him like that?" I said. "I'm allowed to need space. I'm not your wife. I'm not his mom." He said, "Then what the hell are you doing here?" We had a long, ugly fight. He brought up every comment I'd ever made about his son. He said I never wanted to be part of their family. I told him he never made clear what role he expected me to play. I said, "You weren't even around for the first 3 years, and now you expect me to step in like some stand-in mom while you work late and play the victim when anyone calls out the kid's behavior." That was the moment he looked at me like I was a stranger. He didn't yell. He just said, "Pack your stuff." He called his mom. She came over while I was packing. She didn't say a word to me, but I could hear her muttering to him about narcissists and bad influences. My boyfriend didn't lift a finger to help me carry anything downstairs. He just stood in the doorway holding his son's hand while I walked out with my bags. His son didn't even look at me. I stayed at a friend's place for a few nights, not the friend he hates, another one. The first night I felt relief. The second night I felt angry. By the third night I started thinking about the whole thing and realized, yeah, I'm the bad guy here. Not because I was honest, but because I took on a role I clearly didn't want, and then resented everyone for it. I kept telling myself I was just helping out, but I was basically co-parenting without admitting it. And instead of setting clear boundaries up front, I bottled it until it came out as sarcastic comments and frustration at a 5-year-old. I know what I said, clingy little CNT. Weird. Go away is not how an adult should talk about a child who's been through what he's been through. I tried to tell myself it was humor or honesty, but it was me lashing out because I felt trapped. That's not fair to a kid who didn't choose any of this. And yes, my boyfriend has his own issues. He overcompensates, he involves his mom, and he's controlling. But at the end of the day, I had choices. I could have left earlier instead of simmering with resentment. I could have refused to move in if I wasn't ready. I could have learned about his son's issues instead of dismissing them. I could have kept my mouth shut instead of making nasty jokes. I didn't. I stayed, and I made a bad situation worse. Now it's done. He blocked me on everything except email. His mom posted something vague about toxic people who don't belong around children on Facebook. My friend says I dodged a bullet, but honestly, I think he dodged one. He deserves someone who actually wants to be in his kid's life, not someone who resents the role and then feels smug about calling out boundaries. So that's where we're at. Relationship over. I moved back in with a roommate. I'm focusing on my work and my own life now. I'm not going to pretend I'm some victim of his mom or his controlling behavior anymore. I walked into a situation I wasn't built for, and I didn't handle it well. Comments. Comment 1. Damn, this was hard to read. No offense, but yeah, you were the problem. You took on a role you weren't ready for, stayed too long, and got resentful of a kid. And I think the worst part wasn't what you said, it's how casual you were about it. Calling him a clingy little CNT and acting like that was quirky honesty. No, that's just mean, full stop. But honestly, your boyfriend's not off the hook. He threw you into a quasi-stepmom role and clearly never helped you figure out what the F your position was. That's on him. He wanted loyalty, boundaries, parenting energy, and emotional labor, all while keeping control over the narrative, bringing his mom into it, and demanding you drop your friend. He wanted a partner without giving partnership. The person I actually feel the most for is the kid. The adults around him are either overcompensating for guilt or throwing sarcasm like it's funny to emotionally neglected children. That little boy is going to grow up knowing the people around him saw him as a burden. You both messed this up. But I respect that you admitted it too late. But still. Just please, don't get into another relationship with a parent, unless you've done some serious soul searching first. Comment 2. I'm not going to coddle you, this was cruel. You knew it. You knew you didn't want this life. You knew you were uncomfortable. And instead of leaving with dignity, you slowly made this kid your emotional punching bag. Then you turned around and acted shocked when it blew up in your face. Kids like him, kids who've been abandoned, ignored, bounced between adults, they're already scared. They latch on to any adult who shows them even a sliver of stability. And when that person starts rolling their eyes, joking about them, and snapping at them, that SHT leaves a scar. It's not just a comment. It's one more rejection they file away in their nervous system. Your boyfriend isn't perfect. The guy clearly weaponizes silence, doesn't set boundaries with his mom, and has control issues. But he was trying, even if awkwardly, to protect his son. He was doing what you should have done, which was to pick the damn kid first. I'll give you credit for owning it in the end. Most people wouldn't. But you don't get points for honesty when the truth is you were casually cruel to a child because you stayed too long in a life you didn't want. Second story. My best friend of 16 years, who rejected my proposals but took me to prom and cut me off for 2 years, suddenly came back when I was in my best shape, kissed me straight up, and wanted me to be her FWB. I've known this girl Erin since we were in elementary school. Our families are really close, and our parents are best friends and neighbors. We would often spend countless hours together at each other's houses. It got to the point where we could literally let each other in each other's house rooms with parental supervision, which is a big deal as kids-teens. I've always been attracted to her. In middle school, she was cute. In high school, she was extremely attractive, and we went to prom together as friends. I've told her a few times over the years how I felt, and she was always saying, let's just be friends, or that would be weird, pretty much turning me down. We grew distant in undergrad due to us attending different universities, and then she studied abroad, but still kept in touch from time to time via Skype, text, holidays, etc. In undergrad, I started working out seriously and playing soccer. We both played since we were young. I've never been out of shape, but I've never been this physically defined in my life. After graduating college, I went into grad school, where I stayed in a single apartment on campus. I leave a key at my parents' in case I ever lose or forget mine. One evening, I'm taking a nap and hear someone coming into my apartment. By the time I open my eyes and get myself together, Erin is already sitting on my bed. I'm thrilled to see her. It's been nearly 2 years at this point since we've physically seen each other. She crawls over and hugs me, and that's when I realize things kind of went different. She leans in, and instead of the normal, "Hey, what's up, and how's life?" kisses me on the lips. I'm blown away, shocked and beyond happy. Kisses lead to touching, and touching leads to sex. When we finish, she tells me I better get used to her because she's attending the same graduate school. She says she wants more of this, and mind you, at the time I was still on cloud 9, so of course I said sure without thinking. That was nearly 3 months ago, and now she comes over. Some days we talk like best friends, and other days it's just a lot of sex. My emotions are all over the place, as if it wasn't bad enough that her best friend being FWB is really a challenge for me. To my knowledge, she has no boyfriend, no love interest or anything like that. But whenever I bring up dating or anything serious, I'm met with SXY time and an open-ended, "We'll talk about it later," or "Let's just have some fun together and think about it later." Should I just be patient? Our friendship dynamic has changed. I'm aroused just by the thought of being alone with her now. We're hiding things from our parents and friends, and while I feel like I'm falling for her more and more, I haven't any clue as to what she is thinking. TLDR, my best friend of 16 years, who has never shown interest in me, shows up at my college apartment one day and randomly has sex with me. She's been coming over pretty much every other day since the semester started. I've liked her for years, but she won't give a definitive reason as to what this means or where it's going, and it scares me. Why do I feel so much regret despite being so happy? Is it wrong to have this type of relationship with her given how I feel about her? Obviously, the SXY time with her is a dream come true for me. She is a gorgeous girl, and friends/family all throughout school have always joked about us dating or hooking up. I don't know if I can ever go back to seeing her as just a best friend without the benefits, and the fact that I don't know if that's the same for her scares me. Am I overthinking this? Should I just enjoy it while it lasts? Comments. Comment 1. I'll probably get downvoted, and I'm pretty new at this, but I think you should just ride it out and embrace your feelings to the fullest. It might have been selfish for her to engage in a relationship with you like that, knowing your prior feelings about her, but the bottom line, I feel like, is that you can't end it. If you could end it, then you wouldn't have needed a post seeking advice on it. You feel strongly about it, and while it sucks, there is always a maybe. Also, I feel like if you two were genuinely best friends for the majority of your lives, then she wouldn't just discard your feelings and use you like that. I think she would have straight up just told you no if she wasn't considering you. Maybe the timing isn't right, or maybe it's something with her she is trying to sort out. Either way, I feel like you end up with her, and you guys actually become a couple, or you or she ends it and your friendship falls apart. Which is even worse since you've been friends for so long and your families are friends. If you have the willpower to end it, then cut your losses short and do it. However, I think you already know you can't end it. Saying no to someone you've been admiring for a while isn't easy, as most of these comments say. I'm going through something similar myself. OP. Honestly, I didn't want to admit it, but I don't think I have the power to end this. And you bring up good points about if she didn't want me, she would have just straight up said no. I doubt anyone will understand, but when I see her and I'm with her, there is nothing I wouldn't do for her. I think I'm just going to have to go with the only logical possible choice, which is to ride it out and try to learn more about her. Saying I could end it at any point would only be me lying to myself. Maybe she did come out of a bad relationship, or has some commitment issues, but I'm going to try to work with her through whatever it is. Comment 2. Enjoy it while it lasts, because it'll abruptly end at some point. Don't get emotionally attached, and if you are, end the FWB for your own sake. OP. I'm about 3 miles past the don't get attached part. All I can really do is enjoy it while it lasts and see where it goes. We've been friends for this long, and we've always been there when we needed each other. So here's to hoping there is another reason she hasn't given me an answer. Comment 3. The only thing I would worry about is if there is a fallout, and you two are not on the same page about things. A 16-year-old friendship is a lot to lose, and emotions can run high in things like this. Just be careful. Looking at it from a third party, this can't end well, but you have more information than we do. OP. Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. Like one of the other commenters said, though, I've liked this girl for more than half of my life. I vividly remember daydreaming about sleeping with her back in high school. Even at prom, I didn't manage to. I can't turn off my feeling for her. And even ending it beforehand won't bring about the closure I'm seeking. I think if anything, I'll probably regret it. Regret not biding my time to see where we could have gone. I don't want to sound corny or helpless. But what I'm doing with this girl undoubtedly makes me happier than I've ever been. The way I see it in black and white is either we end up together and live happily ever after some time down the road, or she leaves me for someone else, in which case our friendship ends anyways for an extremely long time. That's just how trying to date a best friend in my eyes has always gone. Make it something better or watch years of friendship crumble to a million pieces. The only information I left out is that she doesn't want to talk about the 2 years we weren't connected, which leads me to think that something happened. I don't know if it's a bad breakup, a horrible experience, or what really caused such a change. Hopefully I can find out. Update. The previous is from my first post. TLDR. My best friend of 16 years, who has never shown interest in me, shows up at my college apartment one day and randomly has sex with me. She's been coming over pretty much every other day since the semester started. I've liked her for years, but she won't give a definitive reason as to what this means or where it's going, and it scares me. Despite most people, including many of my closest friends, telling me to just end things with her or force her into a decision, I decided to just ride it out, accepting that I'd probably get tossed to the side when someone better came around for her. We went on to be FWB for about 4 months, and those were honestly the most nerve-wracking months of my life, never knowing when or if it was going to end or what she was really thinking. I tried my best to play it off as if it didn't bother me, but really it was a bittersweet time for me. After our school semester ended, we drifted apart a little bit. We both were spending time with family and friends. We both had extremely busy semesters and spent most of the time studying or with one another, so it was expected. She ended up going on vacation with her parents to visit her grandparents in England. She did invite me to come along months ago, but I already had other obligations, so I couldn't go with her despite wanting to. We did talk on the phone a few times while she was away. I actually had an annual soccer tournament with my traveling team, and we met this all-girl team at the tournament, so I was telling her about it since she plays soccer as well. She seemed happy for me that I was having fun, but I could tell that it was bothering her. I just chalked it up to maybe I sounded like I was bragging or something. 2 weeks later, she asks me if I can pick her up from the airport because she flew back early, and she nearly knocks me over because she hugs me so tightly. She has never shown so much intimacy in public before. She even tells me that she really missed me. It's like 8 p.m., and we go to Starbucks. She's being, really different, a lot quieter than normal, and she seems a little nervous around me, like she wants to say something. Eventually, she confesses that she realizes that she does like me as more than just a friend, and she apologizes for her unfairness in making me wait so long before giving me an answer. She tells me that before she left, she didn't really know what she wanted. She didn't know if she wanted a relationship or if she was ready to be in one. She said that she was afraid to get into a relationship with me only to realize that she didn't want it and feared that our friendship would never bounce back. She told me that she experienced a lot of things in England and was sad that she wasn't able to experience them together. She talked to her older sister, who lives in England, who really put in some good words for me. So we're officially dating, and everything has been awesome. I couldn't be happier. Sorry if this update is a bit lacking. I tried to summarize 3 weeks' worth into this post without making it a novel. But if you have any questions about anything, just let me know. Thanks, the advice on the original post really gave me some solid perspective. TLDR, we're finally dating, and everything is great. I guess it pays to be patient sometimes. We'll be celebrating our first month on the 1st of July. Comments from OP. I think it's about the same, honestly, barring the first day or two after she came back from England. But I think that had a lot more to do with how emotional it was and being apart for 2 weeks than the becoming official part. For both of us, I think there was, a large realization, OMG, you're all mine. While I'll admit there was a bit of thrill every time I'd stay at her place or vice versa to not get caught in the act. Essentially, since we both still live at home with our parents, it's still the same let's not get caught in the act thing. I prefer it now because I think we kiss a lot more, and it's a different type of passion about it. I think it's more about, closeness and togetherness, rather than being driven by lust and horniness like rabbits. The rabbit style still comes out occasionally, but I think overall it's about the same. I wouldn't say FWB's X is better than couples X. But then again, we've been a couple for less than a month, so take it with a grain of salt. Honestly, I think waiting it out was the only realistic option I had anyway. I couldn't see myself ending our friends with benefits relationship with her, because I was always a bit spineless when it came to Erin. Especially during the semester when spending time with her was pretty much the highlight of my day. Could have ended up painful. But I'm grateful and counting my lucky stars that it didn't. I don't have the fear of losing her, but I often find myself trying to spoil her. She usually says something like, "You can't always give me everything." Or sometimes, more subtly, she'll make a joke about wanting something outrageous so I can learn to say no. Our communication has picked up considerably. I think we both thought we knew a lot about each other, being best friends for so long. But there is a lot that we are both surprisingly still learning about one another, and it's great. We've bumped heads a couple times in a good way, and it's always been a positive outcome. I don't think that'll be the case. I mean, our communication has improved drastically since becoming a couple, and things are slowly starting to even themselves back out in terms of power in our relationship. She did avoid the conversation about being a couple during the time that we were strictly FWBS, but I don't think it's a fair indicator that she'll do that for other problems. We've had a few minor issues come up, and we discussed them like a normal couple would, and there was no like stonewalling. Is that the right term? Or anything like that? I understand now why she didn't want to talk about getting into a relationship with me and didn't want to lay out exactly what she was thinking. It would have been an inappropriate conversation that likely would have ended up altering our friendship and not solving anything. Our families both took it really well. Her dad was expecting it and wasn't surprised in the least. He had been expecting it for a long time. He said he had his suspicions and even bet his wife that we would end up together before the end of the year. My dad made a joke last weekend when we had a cookout when we showed up a bit late. I was getting worried my son didn't have any balls. He was joking, of course, but I ended up being the butt end of many jokes that day. Our mums keep telling us that we were just the cutest thing they had ever seen. I think overall everyone is happy for us. We both have younger siblings. My brother is 11, and her sister is 12, and they were so confused because they didn't see our rings. They were mistaking dating for marriage. I was trying to keep lower expectations and be realistic. It had been 3 months of friends with benefits with absolute indecision about where it was going. Of course, I was going to be willing to let it happen. Either I waited patiently and let her decide, or I forced an answer out of her and risked ruining a friendship. I was hoping for the best, but prepared for the worst. Not saying it's a healthy stance or way to handle things, but really I didn't see any other options. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.